question. The reason is I don't know the answers. And it's live. I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm not a rabbi. I don't know halachic answers. So I just like your father, do the best I can. But really, your questions are always two good questions. I have no idea of the answer. And I really don't want to say I'm sorry, but how old are you?
I understand you're being recorded.
No, don't start it yet. How old are you? I have this 11-year-old who has asked me questions. I don't know the answer. He's sideways. Naftali's sideways.
No, it's because our phone is sideways. That's what happened. Naftali's right.
Okay, we're starting from the mission. That's where we're up to, right? All right. Good
morning, Naftali. Good to
Hey, Naftali. How you doing?
Thank you for taking this on, Rennie.
Yeah. No, you know what? I came up the back way and no one was here. It turned out everyone was waiting for me in the front ways. Anyway, okay. So we're on 79A, otherwise known as Ayin Tes Amud Aleph. We're at the Mishnah, which is about a third of the way down. Okay, no problem at all. I'll probably be finished very close to it. And we'll start. All right. So first thing I want to say is if you remember the last set of cases on the top of this page, it had all these cases explaining, for the most part, the result was to learn when a shliach lidvar avera is chayav. Because we say shliach for mitzvah, I mean, shliach for mitzvah, it's always okay. You know, you do a mitzvah, but you should not be chayav if someone sends you to do an avera. But above on the page in the first third, there's two cases where it mentions, and we learn from there that there could be shliach l'dvar avera. Now, the shliach in that case is not the person who, the messenger who gets the avera. The ganav gets the avera, the guy who stole it originally, and then gives it to the shliach to do something with it. One of those cases is tabech hamocha. He says, "Hey, shech this behemoth." Okay, so in that case, he is still chayav dalet v'hei 4 or 5 times for the tvicha, and that was the case with the shliach. I mean, that's what we learned. So now we're learning a whole new situation. If he stole the ganav in the owner's domain and slaughtered or sold it outside the owner's domain. So why does it say that? Because he's made a kinyan already, the ganav. He stole it in the owner's pasture and he pulled it out into public property or his property. Once it passes the border, he owns it, it's his. Because if he sent the guy to go, if he was in there just pulling it in the owner's pasture, and we'll learn things happen, it's not his. It's still the owner's. If he goes in there and we're going to learn and slaughters it in the owner's pasture, guess what? It's still not his. He's still not gone. But if he steals it by doing a kinyan, taking it from one property to the other, all right, someone goes in one backyard, takes it out to another backyard, all right, then he is chayav. So in this case, he stole the animal in the owner's domain, and slaughtered or sold it outside the owner's domain, he's chayav. One case. Oh, shaganav chutz b'reshusam, tavach malcha b'reshusam. Well, here's a real chutzpah de ganav. You know what? He found the animal wandering about the public property, or maybe even his property. He brings it back to the owner's property. And then while he's in there, he goes and he does now a tzvicha. You know, he does a slaughtering. Well, guess what? Again, he crossed domains. He made a kinyan, meaning he made an act of acquiring, or whatever the correct English word is for that, acquisition. All right? In that case, he's going to be chayav also. Oh, we get a whole bunch of cases. Oh, shaganav v'tabach umacha chutz m'reshusam. Or he stole it, all right, and slaughtered, or he sold the animal outside of the owner's domain. All right, so he found the animal in the owner's premises. He then pulled it out. He then slaughtered it outside. So this is all after a post kinyan, all right? After he's made the act of acquisition, all right? So who owns it? The Ganav owns it. Therefore, at that time, we're going to learn he's going to be responsible. All right? It says, Mishalem Tashlume Abba B'chamisha. He pays the fourfold or fivefold payment, okay? And when we say fourfold or fivefold payment, I believe we're talking about in the event that it was a small animal, behema, daka, like a lamb, he's going to end up paying 4. And if it was a big behema, like a cow or an ox, he's going to end up paying 5. At the end of Ayin Tessa Amud Beis, we're going to actually discuss 2 opinions, or the Gemara is going to discuss two reasons of why the difference between 4 and 5. It's just highlights at the end of today's lesson. But what if he stole and slaughtered or sold the animal in the owner's domain? So first of all, he didn't really steal it because he never took it out of the owner's domain, which we said you have to cross the border, all right? So even though he stole it in the sense that he thought he stole it, he's not chayiv daman, it's just patur. What's he patur from? What is he exempt from? Dalet behei, 4 or 5 as the payment. Now remember, whenever we say patur, it means patur avo asura, but it's still not allowed.
What
So
if he takes a cow that's happy?
No, I'm not going to, excuse me. The rule for today's class is the 11-year-old genius that we have here, Moshe Druin's son, is not allowed to ask any questions because, number 1, I am not a Rav. I can't be Paskin, Daf Yomi is not halacha. Number 2, I will have no idea what the answer is. And number 3, half the time I have no idea what his question is. So although he's tremendously brilliant, and he's as cute as anything, and his voice would be great for any cartoon. All right, he cannot ask me questions. Okay, all right. Hey, Musko, I love you though. I love you. All right, just like your father. Hey, Musko, well, maybe not just like your father, but anyway, I think I'm embarrassing Moshe here. All right. All right, the Mishnah continues. All right, what happens if he's in the field, the property, the backyard of the owners, and he starts to pull it? And guess what? While he's pulling it, the animal has a heart attack and dies right there. So what did we say before? And just think about it. Did he pull it across the borderline yet? No. So who still owns it? The owner. So the fact that it died ain't his responsibility. All right? So again, he's patur. Patur means he's patur from dalet v'hei. He is exempt from paying 4 or 5 times. All right? Depending on the animal, aval asur, but you're not allowed to do that. Higbihu. Now that's some. All right. Rabbanan added, I believe, that if you lift something in the rishus of someone, that is a kinyan. So Higbihu, however, he lifted it while it was still in the owner's domain. All right. Let me see what 18 says here. The answer: by lifting animal, even while the teeth have torn. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. The Rabbanan added that. Oh, Hatzir Rishus Balim, or as we said originally, which is the biblical thing, or he just took it out of the owner's domain, his backyard, or whatever base, and then it died. Guess what? He's already performed the kinyan, chayev, and he's liable for dalet or hay. So he goes in that backyard, he tries to lift up the cow. Oh, it's so heavy. Oh, it's so heavy. And then he gets a heart attack, but not him. The cow gets a heart attack. Guess what? He's chayev 5 in that case. All right? If he gets a heart attack, you don't know anything because he's not there. Okay. All right. The Mishnah continues. That's a good question. Would his horrible question, would his Yisomim be chayev to pay the dalet v'hei because his father owned it at that time? I don't know, but that's a difficult one. The Mishnah continues. I'm glad you didn't ask me that because I have no idea. Okay. Nisano levkaras beno. If he gave it, all right, so now we're going to talk about where there was exchanging ownerships kind of thing. If he gave it to a Kohen for the redemption of his first son, so he entered the owner's domain. He didn't make a kinyan yet, but he had this Kohen with him, and he said, I had this pidyon abain tonight, all right, and I'm going to owe you, was it $5 or whatever it is that they do with the pidyon abain. Moshe, what is it?
$5.
$5? Yeah. Chamesh shkalim, all right. So he says, oh, Levalchov, or he has a guy he owes money with. He said, hey, you know what? You can have this. He doesn't own it. He hasn't done a kinyan that. What a chutzpah the ganav. He's giving away something that's not his. That reminds me of the famous story. The guy who goes in the butcher shop, he says, how much are lamb chops? He goes, lamb chops, $1 a pound. No, $1.50 a pound. He goes, oh, great, that's so cheap. I'll take 5 pounds. He says, 5 pounds? He says, wonderful, except I know of ain't lamb chops. So he says, oh, we'll get you. So he walks across the street to the other butcher shop. He goes to him, he goes, lamb chops, you have lamb chops? He goes, sure. He goes, how much are your lamb chops? He goes, $2 a pound. He goes, $2 a pound. But they only wanted $1.50 a pound across the street. He says, well, why'd you buy across the street? He says, he doesn't have any. He says, if I didn't have any, I'd charge you $1 a pound. All right? So if that flew by you, don't worry about it. So anyway, where were we at? Okay, so case number 1, he's gone. He doesn't have it. And he's gone into the domain, and he tells the Kohen, you can have this for the pidyon abain. Or the creditor, he tells, who's with him. Or he's got an unpaid shomer, and he says, remember, this is all dealing with an animal that he has not made a kinyan on yet. He didn't pick it up. He didn't remove it from the property, nothing. L'shoel, somebody who wants to borrow from me. He goes, sure, borrow the cow. See, it's okay with me. L'nasei sacho, or a paid shomer. He says, you know what? I'm going to pay you to watch this cow, and this is going to be the payment, the cow, or whatever. Socher, or somebody who wants to rent it. Now, we'll get into a little bit more explanation of socher later on. Let me see if they say anything now. The thief is an unknown person said, God now for him as a shomer when the person wished to borrow. Oh, no, he wanted to rent it. So think of the cow as a rent-a-car. All right? He says, listen, you want to, it wasn't a cow, it was a donkey. And he says, I want to rent your donkey because I need to go on the trip and I want to ride the donkey. He says, sure, you can rent this donkey, but it's not his to give away. He didn't own enterprise or Hertz or Avis, anything. By a mushko, umeis precious abalim. Now he pulls it, all right, while in the balim. Now it doesn't say who's pulling it. I guess it means the second person, the Kohen, the creditor, the shomer, one of those people, all right? Pulling the animal, wait. Mushko impress, mushko brishus, wait, mushko umeis precious abalim. It's pulling the press and pulling it out of the oldest domain, and it died. But where did it die? It still died within the owner's domain, in the field. What we say before, if it died in the owner's field, it wasn't a true kinyan, right? Patra. So the ganav, because that's who we're talking about, the guy who, primero uno here, who was concocting all these crazy things, he's patra avawasha. All right? So he doesn't have to pay 4 or 5. Now, he bihu, however, if he lifted it, while it was in the owner's domain, or he passed it, through the over the Rio Grande or wherever, and then it died after he had performed the kinyan on it, right? Because now he made the kinyan, all right? Whether he did it up or passed the border, he is liable, all right? So he's liable. Now, it doesn't say who did that, but I'm assuming it's one of the other guys. Moshe, help me. The one who...
I think you're referring to the client.
Okay. Well, I just remember, it's going to ask a question. What's the difference? Because the Reish and the Sefer sound alike, and we'll find out what the difference is. Yeah, just reminded me. The Gemara cites an inquiry in our Mishnah, which is brought as a proof. By a Meimar inquired, Was Amema one of Meir's, besides Simplicius? Was he the other guy that was his student? I don't know. Anyway, you have your book with you? That book with the rabbis? Hold on one second. Just look up under Rav Meir. The little thin white book. Okay. Wait, just 1 second. I love the chronology of things. Let me just see if that's who it is, or I'm thinking of somebody else. Under Rav Meir, we have Simchas, Rav Shimon ben Asya, and Rav Shimon. No, so Amemar is not there. He's somewhere else. Okay, I forget what. So Amemar inquired, Tiknu Meshicha Bishamrim Olo. Did the sages institute pulling as a method of acquisition with respect to the Shamrim or not? Okay? Okay, well, let me just see on the book of the words of the the sale should not take place at the time. Well, we'll go into more detail, but I think that the sages are pulling to Shaman or not.
It's just basically saying, when does he start Chayv?
When does he Chayv? Yeah, but now we're talking about the Shaman, the number 3 person here. There's the owner, the Ganav, and now in this case, the other people. The Gemara offers a resolution. Amarav Yemar. It's funny. Amemar asks and Rav Yemar answers. Rav Yemar said, Tashma, come and learn. It's going to bring a proof from our Mishnah. Nesano lebcharis beno. We gave it to a Kohen for the redemption of his firstborn son. We're just repeating what we said. Olabal Chavna, or to one of his creditors. L'shama chinam, to an unpaid shomer. Or l'shom, a borrower. L'nesei sachar, to a paid shomer. L'socher, or a renter-car. He was in the process, we just read this, of pulling the animal out of the owner's domain, and it died while it was still in the owner's domain. Pator, he's exempt. So, my love shomer now doesn't the Mishnah mean that the shomer pulled it out upon the instruction of the thief, and thus rendered the thief liable for the act committed as of the year? Here's where we're going to get into the that you're doing Avera, Shlichus Lidvar Avera. All right. Ushmamina Tiknu Meshicha B'Shamrim, and thus from this mission they're instituted pulling as a method of acquisition with respect to Shamrim. So he's trying to say, Yema, that that Meshicha was not instituted for a Shomer. Would not constitute a kinyan because he didn't have an intent to perform a kinyan on the animal. The guy who was doing it, he didn't want to. He was just going to be watching. He never had an intent. There was no das here to steal the animal. The Gemara, don't worry about it, because the Gemara rejects this proof. Amalei, Amema says back to him, Lo, Ganav. The Mishnah refers to where the owner gave it to one of the people mentioned in the Mishnah, and the thief stole it from them by pulling it out of their domain. So he changes the whole story. We've said, he's saying the owner was giving it to one of those third persons who mentioned. Now along comes the thief, and he steals it from them by pulling it out. All right, change the whole story. Tana Reisha, Gemara now counters what they says, but the Tana Ray taught this law that the thief is liable only when he pulls the animal out of the owner's domain. In the first part of the mission, that was in the Reisha. So why would he teach the same law a second time? He's given the answer now that no, it's really a different case. It's talking about when the thief pulled it out. But that's what we learned in the first side. So what's the difference? The second question was, what if the Shomer puts? So he's going to say now, the Gemara answers, Tanaganav Shaganav in Beis Habalim. In the first part of the Mishnah, he taught the law with respect to a thief who stole from the house of the owner. The Tanaganav Shaganav Beis Shomer. And in the second part, let me just put this a little bit closer. Okay, he taught the law with respect to a thief who stole from the house of the Shomer. So that's the two situations in the Gemara. The Gemara in the Mishnah. The Gemara rejects the answer. Well, guess what? It doesn't really like that. Amalei Rav Ashi, so he joins the discussion. Rav Ashi says to Amema, Lo titchaye, do not deflect the proof of this matter. Mali ganav sheganav be shofer for shomer. For what difference does it make whether the thief stole the animal from the house of the shomer, Mali ganav sheganav be spalim, or whether he stole it from the house of the owner? If the ganav stole it, he stole it and it's his, and we've already defined what stealing is. Amalav shomer, rather, it's not the Mishnah referring. Ella love Shomer. Rather, is not the Mishnah referring to where the Shomer pointed out upon the instruction of the thief? This is what we originally thought. And thus, from there, we learn that the sages instituted pulling Mashiach is a method of acquisition with respect to Shomer. So that's the upshot of the Mishnah. That if the Shomer pulls it, he actually acquired it. Now he becomes the owner. It's as if almost he stole it from the thief, and then he'll be the one that's chayav 4 or 5. Shmamina, indeed, learn from this. The Gemara corroborates this resolution. Itamar Nami, where, down there somewhere. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said, "The derech shetiknu meshichas b'lakochas." In the manner the sages instituted pulling, which is Meshicha, as a manner of acquisition in cases of purchasers, so too, they also made this method of acquisition in cases of shomer. So if you're ever asked to be a shomer, to watch something, all right, don't touch it. Just watch it. Don't pull it. Don't take it. Whatever it is, somewhere, pulling it, because pulling. Now, I just have a question. What if he just pulled it in the room, pulled the animal in the thing? That's not, but you have to pull it across the border. And it's not talking about haba at this moment. We already answered that before. All right. Mashiach, just as they answer pulling is in the Netherlands, take the Mashiach b'sham. Okay. As a method was against him. Now, what about land? You want to rent some land for your animals to graze. You're a shepherd. You gotta say, I want to rent this pasture. How do you rent land? You can't pull land. All right. So the Bible says it's niknes shalostrachim. All right. Kesef, you can pay for the land. All right. Isn't that Avraham Avinu? He bought the Maros Machpelah for 400, whatever it was. Right. Bishtar with a document. Here's my land deed. All right. Uve chazaka. All right. Or he does a chazaka on it. Now, what's the chazaka there? He can't pull it. He takes a shovel or a hoe. He starts working the land. You're not allowed to do that to somebody else's land. So you're showing possession there. That's the chazaka. So a rental is acquired by means of money, a document, or a proprietary act. The Gemara asks, Schiras damai, to the rental of what type of property does the Brisa refer? What exactly are you talking to? If you say we're at the top of Ayin Summit Bay, just realize where everything's a little fuzzy. All right. Schiras, the metaltalin, if it refers to rental of a movable object, all right. Like I want to rent your cow for a day, rent a car, all right. I want to rent your lawnmower. I want to rent that nice vase because I have guests. I want them to think I have a fancy house. I need to put a vase on the table. It's funny. We got flowers once with the vase. I had to run get a vase for my daughter. Put them out. Otherwise, it wouldn't look like I took the flowers. So refers to the rental. You can't put the flowers in a bucket. Just that's where they sell it from. You can't accept and say, "Oh, very nice. We'll put it in my bucket." It refers to the rental movable property. The tatale b'nei shtaraninu are then movables fit for acquisition through a document. So this is a question. We said that movables can only be by Meshicha, by pulling. So Gemara is, well, what about the document? Let's see if there's an answer there. Parties can technically arrange a deal. The renter must be supported. This 19 if the buyer get money from the document has no effect. Document isn't good. A document, we're not talking about what we do nowadays. All right. A document is a pending sale. I guess that's what this means. But until the Mashiachas, you go to rent a car place. Or right now I have a rent a car. Enterprise goes and he gives me a document. Sign here, initially, sign here. And then I go to the parking lot. All right. Until I've driven out, I haven't rented the car. It's still in the but I haven't done the Mashiach. In fact, they come out to the car, it's got a dent here, marks here, this, that. So what about all those things? Don't what he said to me, don't worry, it's all written down in there. So where is it written? I don't want to come back and you tell me, I'll tell you that you're going to tell me I did this. So he says, you don't believe me? I'm telling you. I don't believe him, to be honest with you. So he says to me, go take pictures. So I took this and I took pictures of everything. I made sure I had part of his body in the picture in the rental parking lot. So if I had to show the picture, said, whose legs are that? Because he's a tall guy, long legs. And look, and I'll show exactly where it was. I don't believe everything anyone says. All right. The Gemara answers. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda said, "Schiras de karka." The Bryce is talking about rental of land. All right, and we just said before you had Kesef Star. Wait a minute. We learned that you can do a document for land. The Torah prescribes twofold, fourfold, and fivefold payments only for a thief who steals clandestinely, but not for the. Oh wait, that's already going to be. Wait, that's the next thing. Rav Chisda said, "Schiras the karka." This is Bryce teaches that when, for example, a house is rented, the agreement is consummated, and that can be and cannot be rescinded by either party once the renter tenders money or the owner transfers to the renter a document stating my house is rented to you. The renter performs a proprietary act to improve the house. So if one of those three things happen, then it's okay with a rental of land or a house. Anyway, let's go weiter. Now let's go and we're going to start discussing things about when you're chayav 4 or 5. Yes. Yeah, but on the land you can do something to the land.
You can walk around it. It takes ownership, changing it. I think.
I don't know if that right. Is that
walk
maybe
around the perimeter.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Okay. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar said, "Ra'u shehitmin b'charashim." People saw a man hiding in the forest. All right. So you have some shepherds out there. All right, or a bunch of people. They're standing in front of a catering hall. They're waiting for the valets to bring their cars. All right, the cars are all lined up or with the keys in them in the valet parking only. Or it's a few shepherds outside and their cows are all roaming around. And someone notices this guy lurking in the corner there. He's kind of semi-hiding.
Doesn't it mean that he's burying something?
No, we don't know for sure. Means he's hiding in the forest. He plans on stealing one of those cars or stealing, one of those animals. All right, and he does. He steals one, and then he slaughters or sells it. He pays 4 or 5. Now, why is he paying 4? They're telling you that. All right, so because they're saying first of all he's a ganav. All right. And ganavs pay 4 or 5. Easy way to remember. Why? Because he was hiding. All right? The ganav is the thief, the jewel thief. In English, the ganav is the thief. The robber is the gosler. All right? Because that'll help if you're reading in English. All right? Good way to remember that is, this is how I remember it. All right? Jewel thieves, they always come in the dark at night. They don't want to be caught this or that. They don't want anyone to see it. The robber, I think of the Great Train robbery. These guys come in, whether they're cowboys or wherever, I don't care if they have a bandana over their, mouth, and they start shooting and walk right into train. Everyone sees who they are. They blatantly will come right up to their face to steal. So we're talking about the ganav, and we'll explain later why the ganav has to pay 4 or 5, depending what he stole. So, Amai, why is he liable? Hala Mashach, he did not perform an act of thievery. All right. So he's saying, wait a minute. He came up to the field. All right. He's either in Bershus Harabim or he's in the guys where they're all in Bershus Hayachid. He walks up and he knows how to slaughter. all right, and he does the tficha. So he's responsible for 4 or 5, depending on the size of the animal, but he never acquired the animal, right? We don't say that you acquire it by doing slaughtering. We say we already defined how you can acquire it. Lifting it up or changing its residence and domains. All right. So why is he chayav 4 or 5? Rav Chisda. All right. Rav Chisda said shikisha b'makel. The thief struck the animal with the stick. All right. So basically, what he did, he came up, he saw the cow, and he has, you see these pictures like in other countries, the shepherd or whoever the guy's hitting the ox with it, and the ox goes forward. So he's essentially making the car go. It's like he stole the key for the Tesla and he's playing with the remote control and making it drive itself out of the parking lot or whatever he's doing. So he is the responsible party, and therefore he's done the kinyan, and therefore he's chayav if he did tficha 4 or 5. Amrei, they said, but wait a minute, people saw the man steal the animal. So he's a gazlan. We just defined that the ganav who pays 4 or 5, and again, the way to remember it, even Machteres, you would take it up, the ganav is the guy who's hiding in a cellar. So he's the guy who doesn't want to be seen. An easy way to remember is he pays 4 or 5 is because Gimel and Beis, the first and last letter of ganav, is 3 and 2 is 5. So that's how I remember he pays 4 or 5. All right? And what's left over? The Gazlan is a Jew thief. He's not obligated with this 4 or 5. He'll just deal with based in this and that, whatever will be. And there's going to be a whole Gemara later on we're going to learn about Gazlan. So I don't know enough about that yet. All right, Gazlan. But they're saying, wait, they saw him. Now, stop and think for a second. Whether he's a Ganav or a Gazlan, someone saw him at some point because they're witnesses who brought this guy to court. So if no one ever saw him, even all Goslings eventually had to be seen to make a case against him. So you're saying he's a Goslin just because he was seen? There's got to be something different between a witness seeing him and the blatant, I'm walking right up in your face. I want you to see my face. All right? So he's saying that this Goslin, he's, great train robbery, or he's a robber, and therefore he shouldn't be liable for 4 or 5. So Gemara answers, since he hides from them, Ganafu, he's classified as a thief. All right. So listen to Gemara's answer first. He's saying no. But remember, before he stole the car, he was kind of hiding in the shadows, or he was hiding by the bushes before he stole the sheep or cow. So he was hiding. And therefore, if he was hiding, he should be classified as a ganav. Now, they're going to possibly refute that in a moment or so. All right? But right now, the Gemara is saying, he's not a Gazlan. He really is a Gazlan. The Gemara asks, Vela Gazlan, Hechidami. But then, so what's the case of a robber? How can you have a case of a robber? Because eventually, all robbers start off hiding. Because they're planning their thing. The guys who did the great train robbery, before they came down with their horses, to attack the train, they were up there in the hills. Because otherwise the train would stop, make a U-turn, and then go backwards. All right? And the guy lurking in the shadows, if he's going to stand outside, let me see, you got Ferraris or this or that, I'm looking. That's not not their MO, their modus operandi. All right. So it's still a Gazlan, because when he does the act, he's going to do it plainly, but initially he's got to be hiding a little bit. All right. But he's not hiding because he's scared of the people, because in the end he walks right up and just does it. All right. Rabbi Abahu says, Kikan ben Yahu ben Yehuda. All right. Ben Yehuda ben Yehoyada. Thank you. Only a sofer will correct me on that. As it stated by Yigzo Esachanis, Miyad Hamitzri Be'ago B'chaniso. All right, so now it's going to quote a famous story, and he robbed, which was in Shmuel. All right, he robbed the spear from the hand of the Egyptian, and slew him with his own spear. Oh, so the guy comes right up to the Egyptian, who's a bad guy. He takes his spear, takes his gun, he shoots him with his own gun. All right. So is that guy a Ganav or a Gazlan? Obviously, he has no fear of it. But he walked right up. All right. All right. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kigan Baalei Shechem, he's going to give another case. All right. What are these cases for? We're giving cases that show that of blatant, like a Gazlan, of blatantly coming up. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kigan Baalei Shechem, such as the inhabitants of Shechem. Now, this is not talking about the original story with Shechem, or is it? I don't think so. But right, the inhabitants of Shechem set up ambushes against him on the mountaintops. Big Zulu, what?
It's safety.
Okay. Big Zulu is Ko Ashir Yavor Aleim B'derech. And they robbed anyone who would pass them on the road. So this is the same kind of analogy I said with the Great Train robbery. They stayed up there, waited for the suckers to come along, and then they came down and they did it right. And that's Gzela. Gemara asks, Rabbi Abahu, my time alo amar mehai, Rabbi Abahu, cite the verse concerning Beniyahu ben Yehoyada. Why didn't he say coming from the verse concerning the inhabitants of Shechem? All right. He said, and why is he asking that? Because the story about Shechem happened first, right? Earlier, at least earlier in the Nevi'im, all right? The Gemara answers, Malach, Abahu would say to you, Kevim, the mitamre, mitamure lo gazline. Since the inhabitants of Shechem were hiding in the ambush, they were not robbers. All right. Well, that's what we already answered. All right. It was just part of the shtick, part of the ambush. All right. So they initially have to hide somewhat, but not hiding because they had the fear of the person. The Gemara asks, Rabbi Yochanan, what would he reply? I got 4 minutes, Moshe, for you. Dekar mitamre delo nechzinhu inshe v'ni arku minayu. Ooh, that's toughy. He would say that they did not hide in the ambush out of fear of their victims. Rather, the reason they hid was so the people should not see them and flee from them. So again, we kind of jumped the gun and giving an answer. The Gemara cites a brisa that explains why the Torah prescribed the twofold, fourfold, and fivefold payments for a thief but not a robber. All right, we're coming in for a landing. Shalom Tami Dab Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. So Tamidim Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Torah beganav Yosim Gazlan. It says, why does a ganav have to pay more? The Torah more stringent that he has to pay 4 or 5 times. All right. Amalahan said back then, Hishva Kohad Ebed Lekavod Kono. This robber, all right, the one who is, remember, robber, great train robbery, blatant, he's not worried about God, he's not worried about the people, right? This one equated the honor of the servant to the honor of the master. All right? He's not worried about anybody. But the thief, right, the jewel thief who hides, right, did not equate the honor of the servant to the honor of the master. He made as if it were the eye of the one above, as though he did not see. And the ear of the one below does not hear. All right, he's basically using the euphemism for what it says in Pirkei Avos, beware what you do. There's a seeing eye in the hearing ear. Hashem is always a witness to what you're doing. But he's not worried about that. He's just hiding from the man. He doesn't care that God watches him all the time. Woe to those who hide in the depths to conceal counsel from Hashem. Their deeds are done in darkness. And they say, who sees us? And they say, God will not see, nor will the God of Jacob understand. See, this is all the things they think. Because they say Hashem is forsaken the land, and Hashem doesn't see. Rab Meir said, so he's going to give it. So again, The Gazlan isn't worried about Hashem, all right, because he has this attitude. All right, so Rav Meir says he's going to give him mashal. I think this is going to be the end of the page now. Oh no, not there yet. Mashal Mishum Rabban Gamliel. So here's the story. Rabban Gamliel is giving a parable in the name of Rabban Gamliel to the difference between the Ganav and the Gazlan. Lama hadavar domer. To what is the matter similar? Lishnei b'nei adam sheyu be'ebasu mishta. Two guys are in the sea, and they both make a feast. All right, echad zimanis b'nei ha'ea, below zimenis b'nei hamelach. The first guy, all right, he invited the townsfolk, but he didn't invite the king's sons. Oh, so the politicians and the top guys he didn't invite. Oh, bechad lo zimenis b'nei ha'ea, below zimenis b'nei hamelach. Second guy makes a party. All right, he basically doesn't invite anybody. I guess except for family only. He doesn't invite the town folk, and he doesn't invite the king's sons. Who should be punished more? Right. It says surely the one who invited the townsfolk but did not invite the king's sons. All right, because he's basically he's showing, I'm not worried about the king. I have no reverence for him, and that's just like the Ganav. All right, the Jew thief who's hiding from man, but he's not worried. The guy obviously can see him, with infrared light at night. He's wherever he is. I'm Rav Meir, all-seeing guy. So Rav Meir said, all right. The Brisa comments on the fact that the penalty for slaughtering or selling an ox is fivefold, where the penalty for slaughtering or selling a sheep is only fourfold. And now we're going to explain why the difference. Rav Meir, Moshe, 646.
No,
okay. Okay. Rabbi Meir, Kamma Gadol Koach Shel Malacha. Come and see how great is the power of labor. Sure, Shebit Lo B'Malachto, the stealing and slaughtering or selling an ox, which the thief caused to desist from work. Remember, the guy who owns the ox, what does he do with the ox? He doesn't watch TV with the ox. He doesn't schmooze with the ox. He has the ox work. That's what the ox is doing. All right? He's all stealing this guy's, it's his Uber car. He's stealing his means of making a living. Chamisha. So for that stealing, he owns fivefold, the payment. But stealing a sheep, what do the sheep do? They hang out in herds in the field. All right. They don't do anything. The shepherds say the sheep. They don't. Eventually, you'll make money. But they're not making you active money. There's no cash flow at the time. All right. So he didn't cause it to desist from work because a sheep doesn't do any work. So he only pays 4. That's the first answer. Young gun here is going to say, that's not what I learned in yeshiva. I learned I was different reason for 4 and 5. Right? I'm a Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, so and say, let's see how great human dignity is. Now we're not going to look at the animal from the animals, and we'll look at human dignity. Sure, Shalach Baraglov, stealing an axe. The axe walked on its own. Yeah, he pulled it, or he hit it with a stick. All right, he pays 5. All right? Says Shirbo Aksefo, but the lamb, in order to steal the sheep, he has to go pick it up, carry it, and he's walking through the street. He's walking through 163rd Street or the city there, and he's carrying a thing. It's pretty embarrassing. Everyone knows it's not his. So he's embarrassing himself in this thievery. All right? So Hashem had rachmanis on him for having to be embarrassed while he stole, and therefore he's only fined 4. It's a tremendous upshot from it. All right, the Tana concludes chapter 7 with a Mishnah that prohibits the raising of various animals in specific places. The first of these rabbinic strictures is to designate to prevent one's animals from grazing in another's fields. Very nice. You can't raise small domesticated animals, meaning sheep and goats, in the land of Israel. What? That's something new to me. Avamagadlim to Syria, but we raise them in Syria. Now, Syria here was a little part of Syria at that time that David HaMelech had conquered, all right? But it wasn't annexed as really becoming part of the map of Israel. It was just kind of a temporary act. It was like a territory, all right? But since it was outside Israel and not many Jews live there, if any, they could graze their, raise domesticated animals there over Midbar Eretz Yisrael and in the Sinai, because except for the Bedouins who run around with their sheep, there aren't too many Jews running around in at that time in the desert. And Megadon, so that's one. And Megadon Tarnegolin B'Yushalayim. You can't raise chickens in Jerusalem, Nehakadoshim, on account of the consecrated meat that's in there. Remember, this is the time of the Beis Hamikdash, all right? So he's saying, wait a minute, there's going to be all this holy meat, all right? All right, so why can't you raise chickens? Because chickens tend to go in the garbage, and they peck in the garbage, and they might go and peck at a sheretz, all right, the rodent that's tummy, and then they might come and be metame and make unpure the kedoshim, the holy meat. So therefore, don't raise any chickens when they have a problem from tumor coming from the garbage to the meats. The local Kohanim Beretz Israel, and even more strict, the Kohanim can't raise chickens in Israel with Nea Taharas, because the Kohanim, they have the ritually pure foods, right? They're given truma as a gift where they can eat. Imagine, so they have in their own chicken coop and this and that, their own property. We're not talking about fields now, but in their own property, chickens, they could possibly right there cause their food to be tummy. And we can't raise swine in any place. Well, you go on them. That's again another thing. What's the reason? It's going to explain it later on. We're not up to that now. And this last part I really like because Lo yigado adam es a kelaf. A man that's raised a dog. Now, forgive me, Cookie. Don't get upset. They're not talking about you. Cookie's the name of my dog. Unless it's bound with a chain, meaning unless it's chained up or on a leash, etc., etc. Okay. Now look at the reason why. Now, by the way, you're not allowed to put a dog on the chain in Dade County. That is illegal, because if the water gets knocked over this and that, the dog can die. Just when it's called animal cruelty. So even the Gemara says there, please do not chain your dog. The Mishnah concludes with a rabbinic stricture of a different nature. Ain't parsing nishuvin. So the reason is because in those days they said if a woman would all of a sudden, when she was pregnant and she got startled by a barking dog, a big, bad barking dog, she might have a miscarriage. So that's why. But she's not going to be scared of a dog that's on a leash or a little dog, that's on a leash. All right. If anything, my dog will come up and just lick them and keep on licking. The Mishnah concludes with a rabbinic stricture of a different nature. In portion nishavin liyonim. We may not spread nets for capturing wild doves. Unless he's 30 ris distance from the settled area. People would raise doves, all right? So you don't want to steal, and the doves would be let out of their dove pen, and then they fly around and they'd come back, just like homing pigeons kind of thing, all right? So you're not allowed to go and put up nets, because you might essentially steal that guy's doves when they go for a quick fly around. The Gemara elaborates on the Mishnah's first ruling. Tana Rabbana and Megadlim b'Hemadaka B'Yisrael can raise small domesticated animals in the land of Israel. And Megadlim b'Charoshin Sheveret Yisrael, but we can raise them in the forests. They're in the land. I guess because if a person is a problem, anybody else there, so you really have to work. Syria, we said earlier, Syria, Philo B'Yishuv in Syria, even in the settled area, the And it's not necessary that we may raise them in foreign lands because we're not going to have the issues of Tum and Tara there from Beis Hamikdash. Tanyidach, it was toward another Brisa, and Megadlin, the Hamadaka about Israel, can't raise small domesticated animals in the land of Israel. And Megadlin, Midbay Yehuda, but we may raise them in the Judean desert. Midbay should be Sfar Akko, and in the Akko border wilderness. But which is just giving other Mishnayos to corroborate what we just learned. Tafal P. Shamru Ein Megadlin Behemataka, even though it says we can't raise small domesticated animals there in Israel, of a Megadlin Behemagasa, but we can raise large domesticated animals there. So basically, that's like a cow, an ox, a horse, a donkey, whatever. Lefishain Gazrin Gezerah our tzibur, because the rabbis didn't enact the decree upon the public. Elaim Kain Rava Tzibur Yecholim Lamad Ba. All right, because everybody they couldn't subsist with that because you'd be getting rid of basically all your transportation means of making money, etc., etc. Just like God doesn't give you a test that you can't pass. They're abundant and not can make a takanat that people are not going to be able to pass. Behemadaka, that's my own type. Behemadaka, efshal avi mechutz la'aretz. So he says, what? You can still bring animals from outside of a Eretz, from abroad. Behemagasa efshal avi mechutz la'aretz. But large animals, it's too hard to bring them over from outside of the land of Israel. The Brisa now delineates the procedure for importing small animals. So, are there rules and regulations? Are there limitations for importing small animals? So it says, even though the rabbi said he may not raise small domesticated animals, who kodem l'regel shloshim yom, but he can detain them for up to 30 days prior to the festival, kodem mishta beno shloshim yom, or 30 days prior to his son's wedding feast. In other words, what that means is Yom Tov's coming up. They want to have, the butcher wants meat to sell to everybody for Yom Tov. So he can import within up to 30 days, but not less before the holiday, or he's got a big catering affair up to 3 days before, and then use up all the animals by the end of the 30 days. Now, end of 30 days does not mean that he can import a week before the holiday, a week before, 2 weeks before the affair, more animals and use them for another 30 days. No, the 30-day period ended. It started 30 days before those two events and ended at those two events. So if he got any late ones, or there's still ones that he hasn't checked yet, this or that, those are the ones that have to be used up by the event. The Sakat Chamina, it might enter your mind. First, the festival departed today, Umiki Zavna Adhashta. And from when he purchased until now, Akati Lo Malo Le Tlatin Yamin, 30 days haven't been filled. Lo Nema Tlatin Mishra Shari Le Leshaye. We should not say that for full 30 days one is unconditionally permitted to retain the animal. We just said this. Because once the holiday is passed, he's not allowed to hold it anymore. All right, we did iron test 79A, 7 o'clock. You got hour free. You got enough time to go to the airport. I did not prepare the next stop, so we'll be one page behind when the rabbi comes back tomorrow. All right, Naftali, we okay?
We have an abundance of additions to Divrei Reni from today.
We have what?
An abundance of additions to Divrei Reni.
To Divrei Reni, okay. See ya, goodbye.
Thank you very much.
See ya. It's funny.
I didn't know about this halacha of having small domesticated animals.
Yeah, this was very interesting. A lot of new stuff.
They don't